It is October 2024. Hurricane Milton is screaming toward the Florida coast at 120 miles per hour. While millions of cars flee north in a panicked gridlock, one driver is pulling a 53-foot aluminum sail directly down Interstate 4, straight into the eye of the storm. If he stops, the emergency supply chain for millions of people collapses. If he keeps rolling, his truck flips in less than 2 seconds. You are about to discover the brutal reality of how American truck drivers survive the deadliest weather events on Earth. But surviving this nightmare requires a lot more than just guts. It demands a flawless manipulation of physics, hyper-precise logistics, and split-second decisions where a single mistake results in getting crushed alive inside a steel cab. Right now, thousands of drivers are making a choice that defies basic human survival instincts. When a massive storm system forms in the Atlantic, standard citizens pack their trunks and evacuate. Truckers do the exact opposite. They turn their headlights directly toward the danger zone. They haul the food, clean water, generators, and medicine that keep disaster zones from descending into absolute chaos. But entering a tropical storm is a death sentence if you do not know the hidden mathematical rules of the road. Most people assume the biggest threat to a massive 18-wheeler is the rising floodwater. That assumption is dead wrong. The real killer is completely invisible. It is the wind. A standard dry van trailer is essentially a giant aluminum sail. It stands 13.5 feet tall and stretches 53 feet long. That creates over 700 square feet of flat surface area for high-velocity gusts to punch against. The physics behind a truck rollover are terrifyingly fast. When a fierce crosswind hits the flat side of a trailer, it creates a massive amount of aerodynamic lift on the windward side. If the truck is empty, it only weighs about 35,000 pounds. A 60-mile-per-hour crosswind can easily lift those massive rubber tires completely off the asphalt. Once the high-pressure air gets underneath the chassis, the entire rig flips over before the driver can even tap the brakes. You might think carrying a heavy load protects you. It does not. Fully loaded trucks face a completely different, much more violent problem. They can weigh up to the legal limit of 80,000 pounds. While that massive extra weight keeps the tires glued to the road in moderate winds, it creates immense kinetic energy. When a sudden 90-mile-per-hour gust catches a loaded trailer, the top-heavy weight shifts violently to one side. The cargo inside breaks its straps and slams against the downwind wall. The sudden shift in momentum snaps the fifth-wheel kingpin, the single piece of steel connecting the tractor to the trailer. The trailer flips, twisting the cab along with it and flattening the driver inside. Because of this, experienced drivers constantly calculate wind direction like pilots. A headwind slows down fuel efficiency but keeps the truck stable. A tailwind causes dangerous pushing and trailer sway. But a crosswind is an absolute executioner. Truckers utilize specialized wind speed charts to determine the exact second they must abandon the highway. If the wind hits 45 miles per hour, empty trailers must pull over immediately. If the gust exceeds 60 miles per hour, even the heaviest fully loaded trucks must park. Staying on the road past this point is not brave. It is a suicide gamble. Yet drivers still find themselves trapped on the highway when storms accelerate unexpectedly. Survival actually begins days before the sky even turns gray. The moment the National Hurricane Center identifies a tropical depression, specialized emergency logistics networks activate across the United States. Large retail chains and federal emergency management agencies begin shifting their entire supply chains. Truckers are offered massive financial incentives to take these high-risk routes. These emergency payouts can easily triple the standard freight rate, offering thousands of dollars for a single run. Hit the like button if you respect the drivers taking these massive risks, and subscribe to join us as we break down more extreme survival logistics. Share this with your friends to show them what happens behind the scenes of a natural disaster. But the pressure is intense, and the margin for error is zero. Before leaving the terminal, a driver entering a storm zone performs a hyper-thorough pre-trip inspection. They check the windshield wiper blades for cracks. They ensure the air brake lines are perfectly sealed because any moisture contamination can cause the brakes to lock up permanently. They inspect the tire treads to ensure maximum water displacement. Bald tires cause hydroplaning at speeds as low as 30 miles per hour. Hydroplaning in an 80,000-pound semi-truck means completely losing steering control. You instantly become a passive passenger in a giant unguided missile. Once on the road, standard navigation apps are completely useless. They do not account for bridge weight limits or low-clearance obstacles during emergency detours. Instead, truckers use specialized satellite navigation systems combined with active CB radio communication. The CB radio is the ultimate lifeline. It allows drivers to talk to peers who are just a few miles ahead on the same highway. They share real-time warnings about washed-out bridges, fallen power lines, and hidden police blockades. As the outer bands of the hurricane make landfall, the environment changes rapidly into a localized war zone. The rain becomes so dense it reduces visibility to near zero. Drivers employ a strict technique called space cushioning. They increase the following distance between their truck and the vehicle ahead to at least 10 seconds. A fully loaded semi-truck traveling at 60 miles per hour takes the length of 2 football fields to stop on dry pavement. On a flooded highway, that distance triples. Flash flooding introduces another hidden trap known as roadbed washouts. Rushing water can easily erode the soil beneath the asphalt without damaging the surface layer. To a driver, it looks like a standard, shallow puddle. But when 80,000 pounds of metal drives over it, the weakened asphalt collapses instantly. The truck drops into a deep crater, completely destroying the front axle and trapping the driver in rapidly rising waters. Navigating through visible deep water requires extreme precision. If water reaches the brake drums, the truck loses stopping power entirely. If water enters the engine air intake, which sits around 4 feet high on most conventional cabs, the engine suffers immediate hydrostatic lock. The pistons bend, the engine block cracks, and the truck dies instantly in the middle of a rising flood zone. The universal rule for truckers is simple. If you cannot see the white road markings through the water, you do not cross. Eventually, the conditions become too severe to keep moving forward, but finding a safe place to park a giant 18-wheeler during a hurricane is an absolute nightmare. Standard truck stops fill up quickly with fleeing civilian vehicles. Parking on the shoulder of the highway is an invitation for disaster. Soft shoulders turn to mud under heavy rain, causing the heavy rig to sink and tilt. A tilted truck flips much easier when hit by high winds. Drivers look for large concrete structures that can act as massive windbreaks. Industrial parks or the downwind side of large concrete warehouses are prime locations. However, parking directly under an overpass can be dangerous if the highway floods, turning the underpass into a deep pool. The ideal spot is an elevated open concrete lot away from tall trees, power lines, and loose billboards that could become deadly flying projectiles. Once parked, the driver initiates lockdown protocols. They drop the trailer landing gear firmly onto the concrete to provide extra stability. They apply both the tractor and trailer parking brakes. Some drivers choose to slide their trailer axles, known as tandems, all the way to the rear. This extends the wheelbase and makes the trailer less prone to pivoting or tipping in high winds. Inside the cab, the driver prepares for a long, isolating ordeal. The truck cabin becomes a survival bunker. Modern sleeper berths are equipped with heavy insulation, but they can quickly turn into suffocating ovens if the engine must be turned off. Drivers keep the engine idling to maintain air conditioning and keep the batteries charged, provided the exhaust pipe is completely clear of rising water. If the exhaust gets submerged, deadly carbon monoxide gas can seep into the sleeper berth. Drivers pack a dedicated hurricane survival kit. This includes 1 gallon of water per day, non-perishable canned foods, a manual can opener, heavy-duty flashlights, a first aid kit, and portable power banks. They also carry extra clothing and heavy rain gear. If the truck gets stuck and power grids fail, a driver might be trapped inside that metal box for 4 or 5 days before emergency teams can clear the roads. The mental toll of sitting through a hurricane inside a truck cab is immense. The howling wind vibrates the entire chassis. The aluminum walls pop and flex under the intense pressure changes. You can feel the entire rig shifting slightly with every major gust. The temptation to panic is high, but leaving the cab during the height of the storm is usually fatal. The cab provides a protective steel cage against flying debris, like metal sheets and tree branches moving at 100 miles per hour. But even if a driver survives the 90-mile-per-hour crosswinds, The most dangerous moment happens when the storm completely stops. As the eye of the hurricane passes over, an eerie calm sets in. The wind drops to a whisper, and the rain stops completely. Inexperienced individuals might think the danger has passed and attempt to drive away. Professional truckers know better. The second half of the storm is often fiercer, with the wind slamming into the truck from the exact opposite direction. Drivers stay locked down until local authorities officially declare the system has moved inland. The true work begins immediately after the storm passes. Truckers are the first civilian vehicles permitted back onto the devastated roads. They follow behind National Guard units and utility crews clearing debris. The routes are treacherous. Debris can puncture heavy-duty tires instantly. Low-hanging live wires pose an electrocution risk to the tall aluminum trailers. Despite the incredible hazards, these drivers push forward. They deliver the crucial supplies needed to rebuild destroyed communities. The next time you see a semi-truck rolling down the interstate as a storm approaches, remember what that driver is facing. They are risking their lives, battling fierce physics, and navigating chaotic logistics to ensure the rest of the country can survive the aftermath.